In 1961, Malaya's Prime Minister Tunku Abdul Rahman proposed the formation of a new country called Malaysia. His plan was to unite Malaya, Singapore, and the British colonies of North Borneo, Sarawak, and Brunei. Tunku believed this union would strengthen the region politically and economically. He also saw it as a way to counter the rise of communism in Southeast Asia during the Cold War. At the time, tensions in the region were high, with Indonesia's President Sukarno opposing the idea through his Konfrontasi campaign. Tunku hoped the merger would create a stable balance of ethnic groups and combine resources for mutual benefit. This wasn't born in a vacuum. Back in the 1940s and 50s, British officials like Malcolm MacDonald had floated Greater Malaysia concepts to knit the region tighter against red insurgencies. But Tunku made it real with that May 27 speech. Singapore's Lee Kuan Yew had whispered the merger idea to him privately a month earlier, sensing his city-state couldn't stand alone. Tunku took it public, sparking a chain reaction. The British, eager to shed colonies gracefully, backed it. Soon, commissions flew in, negotiations heated up, and by 1962, the Cobalt Commission hit Sabah and Sarawak to test the waters. Before joining Malaysia, people in North Borneo, now Sabah and Sarawak, were asked for their views. A British-led commission visited different areas to gather opinions through interviews and surveys. Many residents expressed concerns about Malay political dominance, land rights, religion, and language. In the end, the commission reported that about two-thirds of the population in both territories supported joining Malaysia, provided their local rights were protected. Sabah created the 20 points to safeguard matters like immigration control, native land, and local governance, while Sarawak established a similar list known as the 18 points. These agreements became key parts of the foundation for Malaysia's formation. On July 9, 1963, representatives from Malaya, Sabah, Sarawak, Singapore, and Britain signed the Malaysia Agreement MA63 in London. The agreement was the result of months of discussions and negotiations to ensure proper protections for each territory. Although Brunei decided not to join due to disagreements over oil and other issues, the new nation of Malaysia was officially formed on September 16, 1963. The formation united about 14 million people across a large region from Penang in the west to Kota Kinabalu in the east. The new government aimed to improve infrastructure, education, and trade as part of building a stronger and more unified country. In the years after Malaysia's formation, tensions began to appear within the federation. In 1965, Singapore left Malaysia because of political and ethnic disagreements. The 1969 racial riots in Kuala Lumpur further exposed divisions in the country. Following these events, Tunku Abdul Rahman resigned in 1970 and Tun Abdul Razak became Prime Minister. In 1966, Sarawak's first Chief Minister, Stephen Kalong Ningkan, was removed from office following a dispute with the federal government, prompting a brief state of emergency. Over time, many in Sabah and Sarawak felt that federal support was declining, with fewer funds and slower development compared to peninsular Malaysia. These issues led to growing frustration in the Bornean states, setting the stage for deeper conflicts later in the decade. When Hussein Onn became Malaysia's third prime minister after Tun Abdul Razak's death, his government focused on national unity following the earlier racial tensions. During his term, Parliament passed a constitutional amendment known as Act A354. This amendment changed Article 1, Clause 2 of the Federal Constitution. Previously, the article listed Malaya, Sabah, Sarawak, and Singapore before it left the Federation as separate entities, reflecting the idea that Sabah and Sarawak held a special position under the Malaysia Agreement of 1963 MA63. After the amendment, the article was rewritten to list all states in Malaysia equally and alphabetically placing Sabah and Sarawak alongside the 11 states in peninsular Malaysia. As a result, their unique status was no longer highlighted in the Constitution. The government presented this change as a step toward equality and national cohesion. There was no clear sign of hostility behind the constitutional changes, but they did shift power toward the federal government in Kuala Lumpur. Prime Minister Hussein On, known for promoting integrity and national unity, led during a period when the government sought a stronger, more centralized federation. Officials believed this would reduce regional tensions, especially after Indonesia's confrontation and the Philippines' claim over Sabah. However, the change also reduced the influence of Sabah and Sarawak in national decision making. Their share of parliamentary representation became less significant, and much of their oil revenue was managed by the federal government. While the 20 points for Sabah and the 18 points for Sarawak remained in name, many of their original guarantees, such as control over land and the protection of native customary rights, were not fully upheld in practice. In recent years, the federal government has taken steps to address concerns from Sabah and Sarawak about their position in Malaysia. Under Prime Ministers Ismail Sabri Yaakob and later Anwar Ibrahim, constitutional amendments in 2021 and 2022 restored the reference to Sabah and Sarawak as the Borneo states in Article 1, Clause 2 of the Federal Constitution. Committees were also formed to review the MA 63, focusing on issues such as oil royalties, parliamentary representation, and state autonomy. Despite these efforts, leaders on both states continue to call for more meaningful implementation of the agreement. Many point to ongoing economic and infrastructure gaps, noting that Sabah and Sarawak still face higher poverty rates and weaker public facilities compared to peninsular Malaysia. The debate over equal partnership remains active both politically and among the public. This tale isn't about villains or cons. It's a reminder that nations evolve, sometimes stumbling. Tunku's good faith lit the spark for security and shared dreams. Later, the hands rewired the control circuits. Today, as Malaysia hits 63 years, the Federation teeters on honest reckoning. Will it reclaim that equal partner pose? The pens are out again. History waits on the next signature.